just to recap, I want to express that at the close of the Russian invasion, if you will, into Afghanistan, a 10-year fight with the Afghan people, whereupon Russia was actually defeated in that campaign and left with their tails between their legs, and coupled with the presidency of Russia by Mikhail Gorbachev, who in many ways attempted to democratize the USSR, the United States of the Soviet Republic, which led to the collapse of the Soviet Republic, with many economic and internal turmoils starting as far back as 1988, and then finally ending in 1991 on Christmas Day. And of course, Boris Yeltsin took the helm after that, and after that, Boris Yeltsin had a protege named Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin was waiting in the wings, and 20 years ago took over the failed state now of Russia as a separate entity, no longer United States of the Soviet Republic. And so I think, and to put into context, we have to understand Putin is not a madman. He is one who feels desperately that the Soviet Republic ought to come back together. Kazakhstan, Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, and several others ought to come back together and make up what was once, and he's making an effort to have that happen. And Ukraine is probably the prize, the jewel of what had been the other than Russia, the Soviet Republic. And I tried to give the context, several contexts. One is that, you know, the way I feel about what's happened to Harlem under the weak leadership of people like David Dinkins and a bunch of other house Negroes. I would think that at some point that the Hamites would recognize the Barclays Center in downtown Brooklyn would have never happened, and the gentrification of Fort Greene would have never happened had it not been for the sellout of Jay-Z. The Jewish developers made Jay-Z a billionaire, not the music he sells or the crap that he calls rap. The people there in where the old train station used to be, there in Brooklyn where the Barclays Center is now, who lived on South Oxford, South Portland, Lafayette, and around that region, lived there all their lives. Their families had lived there before them. They weren't going to give up those houses. The Jay-Z got paid to go in there and talk them into it. They sold their properties the way the pastors are selling their churches here in Harlem. And they were able to build this colossal mammoth of a, if you will, sports arena called the Barclays Center with the help of Jay-Z. And we need to understand something. You know, a lot of people look at me and I hate man and he ain't for the black man. But your eyes are blind. You don't see the ripoff. You don't see how black folk, now you're not black, you're Hamites, rip each other off and leave you worse. And I'm just trying to bring you historically back to some truth. So when you see what Vladimir Putin is doing, and I'm not pro-Russian or pro-Putin, you have to understand, he wants to see the Soviet Republic put back together again. And he went into Ukraine. He gave them the opportunity to surrender and say, we're coming back and joining the band again. But they chose not to. So he had no choice. In the weeks to come, you're going to see a fight that I'm lobbying against gentrification here in Harlem. And I'm calling on the mighty people of ATLAH globally join this fight. Now, I'm not condoning. I'm just trying to give you a biblical history. Putin is not a madman, and stop letting them tell you that he is. He's a man concerned about the well-being of Mother Russia. And I'm not pro-Russian or pro-Putin. I am pro-God and ATLAH. So Putin has said more recently, he said, how would you Americans like it? Because NATO is now encroaching into, NATO I think has 30 nations, now not a lot of the 190 nations around the planet. NATO has 30 groups of nations that have put together a plot to defend each other if they're ever attacked and to work, economically, internally with one another. But NATO, Poland is a member of NATO. Now, Poland doesn't border Russia, but it borders Ukraine. And Putin has said, we don't want NATO nations on our borders. It would be like if Canada was a full-fledged communist nation just north here in America. We wouldn't want that. And what's worse, so that we realize that America's hands aren't clean either, blaming Putin. You'll remember that when Khrushchev put nuclear warheads in Cuba, 90 miles off the coast of Florida, that John Kennedy and Americans had a fit that Cuba, that was communist under the leadership of Fidel Castro, and Kennedy said, you got to move those missiles. And Kennedy put up a blockade because ships are going back and forth between Russia and Cuba. And first Kennedy said, get them rockets out of there, or we're going to have a nuclear war. And then he put up a blockade. And Khrushchev, for whatever reasons, and this was the Soviet Republic at the time. This was the mighty Soviet Republic at the time. Khrushchev, for whatever reason, folded. I don't see, maybe Putin will fold. I don't see that. But Khrushchev folded and took those missiles out. But he still continued to support Fidel Castro, and it's a communist nation to this very day. So, I think that when we look at this matter now, the mighty people of ATLAH, because I don't expect these heathens, I don't expect these liberals, I don't expect these CNN dung-head media watchers, I don't expect these liberal white folk running around talking about genocide in Ukraine when they've done the same thing here in America and Africa. They've gone over to Africa and colonized over there and genocide here in America. So I don't think America's hands are clean. I don't think they got anything to say about what Putin is doing or saying about Ukraine. And that's how that is. But I thought I would, try to help you understand the distinction here and about why it's important that we have some sort of a background because of the encroachment of NATO on Russian borders. And not only would there be political differences, but in terms of a NATO nation, but the other thing that the Russians see is the political perversion of Americans. Not only are they politically, in terms of the democratic process, hypocrites, but America's is perverted in terms of its and inhuman sexual activities. The things that America, this LGBTQ, Marriage Equality Act, they don't want that in Russia. They don't want that mess on their borders. They don't want that filth, because that's what it is. It is filth. Let me tell you something. I have looked into the eyes of people of this acceptance of these pastors and churches in America and mothers and fathers that have accepted LGBTQ as a lifestyle to be presented to God and united at the altar of God. It is filth. It is madness. I told y'all the other day, you say, well, I don't necessarily, I'm not a homosexual myself, but my daughter is or my son is, and I'm just going to go along with it. This is madness. Because what you're saying is that God is a homo. Because man is made in the image and likeness of God. And God ain't no homo, and God ain't made no homos. It's word. And they don't want that in Russia. They don't want it. We have a member of our church, Rebecca Hamlin, and she has a beautiful little daughter named Naomi, and wants to send her daughter down to one of them schools down there because her daughter's very talented, very intelligent and everything. Wants to send her daughter down one of them schools down there. She's very young. I think, she's 3, 4, 5 years old, something like that. to learn how to sing and dance and be able to, do things that beautiful young children do. They're so cute on television and commercials. I said, no. You send her down there, they're going to inject her with that filth. They're going to poison her, and she ain't going to stay around here or stay around you. And you would be condemning the law of God. You would be condoning saying man's law supersedes God's law regarding sexual activity. So I said, no, you can't go. But I can tell you something. Especially young people, they are hot to trot. They don't see nothing wrong with it. They ain't been around. They don't know Joseph. So Vladimir Putin said, we don't want that in Russia. And I don't blame him. They got that basketball star, I ain't going to call her name, got that basketball star over there locked up on now, carrying drugs in and out of. She's a women's National Basketball Association, whatever. They got her locked up over there. Probably going to end up giving her 10 years. And not because she had the cannabis drugs on her. I think they do teach don't y'all bring that some homosexual, that perversion. Don't y'all bring that over here. Don't y'all be coming over here teaching our young people. Don't you be coming over here. They don't want it in Russia. And so I think it's important for us to try to get a grasp on all of what's going on globally. Now, it's very important that we come to terms with, as the mighty people of ATLAH, that God has greatly blessed us. And the people, the powers that be, want to move me out of Harlem and move ATLAH out of Harlem so that they can flood this community with their filth. And and you can understand, I love ATLAH. I don't want to live nowhere other than ATLAH. You can't give me a luxury apartment on the Champs-Élysées. You can't do it. You can't give me a luxury house in Beverly Hills. I don't want it. I tell you, I don't want a luxury house in Beverly Hills. I don't want the top floor of the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel. I don't want that. I want to live in ATLAH. That's where I want to live. That's where God said, that's what I want. And not only that, but God has given me the power. God, his name is Jesus, has given me the power. Now, I'm not pro-Russian. I'm not anti-American. I'm not any of that. I'm just telling you what I know to be historical facts about the breakup of the Soviet Republic. But Putin wants to reunite the Soviet Republic. It had been that way under the czars. I want to bring back, if you will, the Lenox Lounge, the Harlem. I want to bring back the beauty. I want to bring back the electricity. I want to bring back the vibrancy. I want to bring it back. I want to get rid of all of this filth that's walking around in short pants and two men holding hands. I want to get rid of all of that. Now, you can call me a madman or crazy or whatever. But it's on. God is with me. The Lord is with me. Now, he's the one. And ultimately, it needs to be clear that America, and especially the American media, don't have clean hands. And watch yourself while you're watching this now. I don't know how long this is going to go on much further, but we're getting ready to go into some hard times. Biden has decided he's going to embargo the oil coming out of Russia. We don't get that much, but it's going to cause prices to jump through the roof. Prices went up from yesterday to today, 10 cents a gallon at the gas station. They're paying $7 a gallon out there in Los Angeles where Brother Davis lives and where Brother Munoz lives out in San Bernardino. And heating oil. And then we've got a crisis coming whereby the January 6th committee has sent a note to the Justice Department, Merrick Garland's Justice Department, telling him that they have proof that Donald John Trump and John Eastman entered into a criminal conspiracy to overthrow the presidential election of 2020. It wasn't just something they were talking about as a rally, that they have proof that it was a criminal conspiracy, and it's been referred to Merrick Garland's Justice Department for an indictment, to indict former President Trump. Whether Garland will do it or not, we don't know, but it's going to get a whole lot worse, because starting the 1st of April, a few days from now, they're going to have public hearings all day long on television. They're going to stop covering the wall. They're going to have public hearings all day long on television of people testifying about what went on January 6th, what went on in the Trump presidency, what went on throughout the entire relationship between Trump and Russia and Putin. All of that is going to be aired. And Bill Barr, who was the Attorney General, the last Attorney General, or next to last, for Tribulation Trump, says he's willing to testify. There are going to be a whole lot of people that's going to testify because they don't want to go to jail. So we got a summer from hell, as I said. The summer ain't going to be no fun. Plus, gas prices are going to be through the roof, gasoline prices, and then there's going to be shortages of food. This embargo, these sanctions that are being leveled by Joe Biden is going to hurt America more than it's going to hurt Russia. And then the other thing is that Americans are just weak. They don't know how to hold a stiff upper lip. I don't want my men and people of outlaw leadership think necessarily I'm talking about them, but I've never seen such weak men in all my life, I swear before God. And they just don't know. The dunghead media is saying, it's a lie. The dunghead media is saying that the Russian soldiers driving them tanks are deserting. That's a lie. That's a flat out lie by the dunghead media. But it's propaganda. It's like Tokyo Rose from World War II. Some of y'all old enough to know about Tokyo Rose. It's a lie. It's propaganda. It's what it is. But I can say this. I can tell you this. Americans ain't ready for no kind of hardship. We've been living on TikTok too long and Facebook. America ain't ready for no famine. America ain't ready for no food shortage. America ain't ready for no soup lines. America, they ain't ready for it. The men ain't ready for it. They don't even know how to pee straight. America ain't even ready to fight no battle. American soldiers, and while I admire the military and leadership and everything, but we ain't ready to fight no battle. We ain't ready to go to battle with nobody. Weak. Men kissing men. We ain't ready. We ain't ready.
Child of the King is serving at all times.
studies, because the Lord is